Hello, twisted humans.
Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked. Hello, and welcome to episode 94, I think, of Twisted and Uncorked. This is the first episode of the new year. Happy 2023. Hopefully we all made it.
New year, same me, eating while Sierra tells me a story like a savage. But on the day that we are recording this, it is the day after solstice. How did you celebrate your solstice? I want to hear about it.
Oh, it was so good. So we are still a family who have, my kids are 8 and 10. I'm 29. We've celebrated Christmas for forever, so I still plan on doing Christmassy stuff on Christmas, but also adding some Yule traditions to Christmas, but also having solstice traditions on the day of the solstice. So we did some stuff on Yule, and we're going to do some stuff on Christmas, even though it's not the day of the solstice. Anyway, we did a bunch of spirally, sunshiny type, activities. So for breakfast, I made cinnamon rolls because that is the most spiral food. I even added some extra cinnamon to it with some more spirals. And then let's see, what else did we do? What did we do after that? This is all in my video. I should know these things. Oh, I dried oranges. Orange is a symbol for the sun. So we dried oranges. We ate a lot of oranges. We made a simmer pot with oranges and cranberries and cloves and fresh rosemary.
Might have inspired today's sangria.
And then I did cranberry and popcorn garlands, which is just something that I wanted to do.
Cute.
I wanted to do it to decorate the tree, but then I heard horror stories about how if you do it and you don't seal it, prepare to have ants in your house. And I was like, I don't want to seal it. It's not natural if I spray shit all over it. So instead of putting it on that tree inside my house, I put it in the backyard, the tree that, is over by the swing.
Did you get any birdie friends?
I didn't see any. It's really cold and rainy right now.
Squirrel friends?
But I'm sure there were squirrels out there this morning. As soon as I let the dogs out, they ran over and started barking. So I'm sure they were there. And I mean, that's basically it. I talked to the kids about how it's the shortest day, but that means that the sun is returning. And even though it's still going to be cold, at least it's not going to be dark as long and, whatever. And then I planned on burning my Yule log, but because it was raining, I didn't, and I think I'm going to do that on Christmas instead, either on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. But what I plan to do with that is to do a releasing ceremony, and so I want the kids to write down something that they did wrong in the last year and put it in the fire and commit to, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to be like that. So
I love that.
That's the plan if it ever stops raining.
Oh, I hope it does for you guys. That's so sweet. Kevin and I had a couple friends over for dinner and made them dinner, and we did a simmer pot and we made wishes, and my simmer pot actually turned into my sangria. Long story short. And we made a Yule log cake and decorated that.
Nice.
So
I bought a Yule log cake.
Because we don't have a place to be able to burn a log, unfortunately.
Yeah, I bought a Yule log cake. I wanted to make one, but I decided that I was going to make chicken pot pie for Yule, which I didn't make on Yule. I'm going to make it on Christmas Eve instead. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, if I'm making this, I don't want to and I always make cinnamon rolls Christmas morning. I was like, I don't want to have to do all the stuff and make the cake. So I went and bought a cake, and I had a piece of it, and I regret it. Next year I'm making one. It's not good. I don't like it.
It's so good.
It's a waste.
And
it was like $18, and I was like, this is nasty.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, ours was good. I'm sorry you don't live down the street. I could have brought you a piece.
Well,
I
the one
wanted
that
to
I
still
got,
do the tradition, but, you know,
yeah,
not light my
the one that
apartment
I
on
got
fire.
is vanilla cake with vanilla icing. Like, logs are not white. What the fuck are you doing? Like, neither of these was chocolate. You could have done chocolate icing on the inside or chocolate cake on the inside. I didn't read it good enough, apparently.
We did chocolate cake,
but
and we
I was
rolled
pissed.
vanilla icing into it, and then cooled
Yeah.
it, and then frosted the outside.
The recipe that I found is chocolate with chocolate, and I fucking love chocolate. So
that would be good.
that's the one I'm making next year.
Do it. Do it. I didn't take any photo. Well, I did take photos, but I didn't post any because it was not very pretty. But it was fun, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, fun.
And it tasted good, so. Yeah. But all of these wishes and New Year activities hopefully coming into fruition now. And we love you guys. Thank you so much for coming back to listen to us.
Yes. Before we get started, do you have a fun fact?
I do. So my fun fact is India's Sathar Adur has a book collection that is surprisingly huge, especially considering that it is made up of teeny tiny versions of our books that we know and love. He is the
What?
owner of the largest collection of miniature books, which includes 3,137 unique miniature books. Officially, a miniature book can be no larger than 3 inches in height, width, or thickness. So he has the ultimate book collection, but they're all teeny tiny.
Are they readable?
Yeah, well, I would imagine so.
I would imagine not. 3 inches? That's this big.
I know, but then it would just be like more pages of the book.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't know. I
the
didn't look
width
further
can't be
into
that
it.
wide.
He just has the ultimate collection, okay?
It's for nothing.
I thought it was cool. I'll
It is
post
really
a
cool,
photo of
but
it
it's
when
for
we talk
nothing.
about post for this episode on social media because it's a pretty cool little collection.
Yeah.
Maybe he has a small space, Sierra, and wants all of the books like we do.
I know, but
We
you
don't know.
can't read them. There's no way he can read those. Unless he has, like, a freaking magnifying glass that he reads with.
Well, let's call India and we'll just, maybe some of our lovely Indian listeners can hook us up. We can ask them some questions. We need further clarification. What is your fun fact?
My fun fact is, I don't know if this is going to hit you the way that it hits me because I am from America, and in American history, I was taught, and I'm sure others have learned, that George Washington, the first ever president, had wooden teeth.
Ooh.
Did you not learn that? I don't know why that was a
No,
thing
that's
that we
foul.
learned, but
Why?
it definitely was.
Why were they wooden?
Well, they weren't. This is the fun fact.
Oh.
We've been lied to. Like, they used to tell us that, I know 100%, maybe I'm on a different fucking timeline than other people. 100% I was told in history class that people used to have wooden teeth. Maybe some people did, maybe some people didn't. They were fake teeth, right? Because teeth fell out. Like, that's just what they did. They didn't brush their teeth.
Yeah.
Their teeth fell out. And so they had to get fake teeth. And what I was told in school is that they were wooden teeth. Well, at least George Washington, President George Washington, his teeth were not wooden. And the fun fact says it's one of the most enduring American myths. President George Washington has a mouthful of wooden toothy pegs. As funny as the image is, it's not true. George Washington did have fake teeth, but they were made from ivory and other people's teeth.
No.
They were made, some were fake ivory, and some were slaves' teeth. The president had the slave's teeth put into his own mouth.
I'm deeply upset that I'm eating right
How
now.
disgusting. You have someone else's teeth in your mouth. In a time when people didn't brush their teeth, you have another human being's dirty teeth in your mouth.
That's like sharing a toothbrush. No.
That's worse than sharing a toothbrush. It's sharing teeth.
I'm not happy about it, okay?
Oh my God.
That's a no for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, ew. Disgusting.
I'd like to go back to believing the myth. Thank you.
Right. Now I know why they told us they were wooden. Thank you for saving us that horror.
The truth is so much more horrifying.
Gosh.
Welcome to 2023. Twisted Humans. Ugh.
History is a lie.
Yeah.
Teeth are exchanged between humans. Blech.
Yeah. I need a drink after that.
Yes, definitely. Today's sangria is, as Alicia alluded to, sort of inspired by the simmer pot drink. Mm-hmm. So it's warm. It is a mulled wine I've been wanting to drink because it's so cold, only warm stuff. And usually a mulled wine or a, what is it called? I can't think of the word right now. The other word for mulled wine. It's called wassail. Wassail? I don't know how to pronounce it. Wassail is what it's spelled like.
I learned
it's warm
fact.
Wine. Anyway, I wanted to have a warmed drink, but
it's fucking cold.
Usually
I appreciate you for picking a warm drink.
Yes. When you warm up a drink, however, it kind of gets rid of some of the alcohol, so you have to add a little extra.
Yes.
So this drink is a rosé wine mixed with bourbon. I used Brothers Bond bourbon.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then it
Little
also
vampires.
has cranberry juice, apple cider, I almost said apple cider vinegar. Apple cider. I didn't have a vanilla bean, so I put vanilla extract in it, as well as cloves, cinnamon, orange, fresh squeezed orange juice, and then I have oranges and cranberries for garnish. And because I used Brothers Bond, I have this little vampire, this little vampire thing to hold it there.
Amazing. As normal, Sierra's drink is much prettier than mine, but really good. The strongest things I taste
really
is cinnamon and orange. So I don't know about you.
Yeah. I definitely taste the apple cider. I don't know. All the flavors together, they just work. It tastes like something else.
What would you rate this
It is delicious. I like a warm drink. I'm going to give this a 9.5.
I'm going to give it a 10. I love it.
Yeah?
I'm really happy you chose this one. I think a red wine would be better in it. Mm-hmm. But that's just my preference, maybe.
Yeah. We'll do a red also.
At some point, yeah. Why not?
Because it'll still be cold next time.
But switch out the wine. It's a new sangria that way, right? We have to revisit some old favorites, so.
Yeah. 'Tis delicious. All right. Are we ready to get into this episode?
I am. I have my corn dog, and I am ready. Anyone watching this on YouTube is, like, offended. Guys, I just got home from yoga. We switched it around so we could celebrate solstice, okay? Deal with it.
All right, before we get started, we are going to hear a quick promo from History Goes Bump. I am going to be a little honest here. I had a weird time trying to figure out what category this episode belonged to. I actually am telling you 3 related short stories today. And my first thought was to do a murderless episode. But then when I found one of the stories, someone had died. And I didn't want to talk about death after claiming there's no murderer. Even if it wasn't a murder, it's just, like, depressing. So then I was like, okay, this will just be unsolved, because I don't think it's a murder anyway. But then I found another story where no one dies. So I just took out the death story because it was too depressing. And so now it's 3 stories where nobody dies, and it's murderless again. Even though it also has elements of disappearances. This is a murderless episode. I am sticking with my original gut decision because those are the vibes that I am bringing into 2023. Follow your gut.
And funny enough, Sierra has all 3 of those categories for her.
I do.
3,
I do.
So.
Yes. That's why I was like,
whatever the fuck you
what
want.
shall this be?
I love the internal decision making that went into that. I am excited.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't know if you remember this, but back just a couple months ago, I did the Missing 411 episode. And I said that there would probably be some more stories that I would cover that are believed to be related to Missing 411. And that's what this is today. These are 3 Missing 411 stories, or stories that get brought up in Missing 411 fandom, that are related.
All right. I'm ready.
The first one takes place on February 7th, 2018.
Oh,
So
really
recent.
Oh.
This happens when a few firefighters from Toronto go on an annual ski trip to Whiteface Mountain in New York.
I would love to live on the east coast of Canada. It's so close to all of those cool cities I want to see in the US.
Yeah, but I say the same thing about the West Coast. Like, I want to see California and Washington and Oregon and Vancouver. Like, the grass is always greener.
And your best friend that also lives in Vancouver.
Duh.
It's fine. I'm low on the list, guys. It's fine.
Okay. At one point in the trip, one of the men, a 49-year-old named Danny Philippidis, decided to ski down one of the slopes alone towards where his car was parked so that he could grab his cell phone to take some photos.
Okay.
But he never came back up to the ski lodge.
No.
When he hadn't been back up by 4 p.m. when the ski lodge was closing, the other firefighters called for help. A search was conducted for Danny, but no sign of him was found. They also realized that his belongings, his car, and even that phone that he went to get were still all left where they had been before he disappeared. So, Danny Philippidis, he was described by coworkers as being outgoing, positive, and larger than life. They said he was fun, he never had any issues in the past, and he was drug tested at work every 6 months as part of a routine for his job. So they didn't think he would just run off on his own or, get into trouble of any kind. According to reporter Steve Hughes at Times Union regarding the search efforts, quote, "The hunt included at least 6 government agencies, 2 ski patrols, and several local volunteers. More than 135 people spent a combined 7,000 hours on the rugged mountain in varying winter weather conditions. Helicopters and search dogs were also called in." End quote. So, this guy,
They're pulling out all the stops.
Right. He's a firefighter. He's a veteran. They need to find this man. Danny was a missing person and eventually presumed dead from exposure of the slopes. Until 7 days later, when a phone call came in. On February 13th, 2018, Danny's wife received a phone call from a California phone number. She's in Toronto. The firefighters are in New York. California is calling Toronto. The person on the other end sounded confused and said Danny's wife's nickname. He said he had dialed the number instinctually, but he didn't know his own name or where he was.
Sir.
Danny's wife recognized Danny's voice and just told him to hang up and dial 911. What? Danny Philippidis had somehow made it to Sacramento, California, 2,900 miles away from that mountain in New York.
Stop.
He was found still wearing all of his ski gear, including his hat and goggles. The only thing he had on him was a credit card. No ID, no phone, nothing but his credit card. And the clothes that he was wearing. He said that the only thing that he remembered was being sick on the side of the road, being in a semi-truck, and at some point driving through Utah.
That's so scary.
Danny was looked over by the doctors, but he seemed to be perfectly fine, other than having lost time. No truck driver has ever come forward to claim that they were the driver of this lost and confused Toronto firefighter. Danny Philippidis has never given a more extensive interview to say that he knew or remembered any more than what we know.
What?
After a year, he is back to his work as if nothing ever happened. It's just a weird day in his life. I assume that they write it off as maybe a head injury, But it's weird that there was no proof of anything being wrong with him when he went to the hospital.
Right?
Nothing at all.
And, like, what happened to all of his stuff?
Well, it was still all at the lodge.
Oh, okay.
He just
okay.
disappeared.
When you said, like,
Without
only
it.
his credit card was with him, I'm like, well, who took his shit?
No, but somehow he had gotten almost 3,000 miles with nothing.
Yeah,
Without an ID.
I know
without anything.
that the credit card thing is not the takeaway here. I'm just curious. It's crazy, though. I don't like it.
It is super crazy.
I have goosebumps like I did with your 411 episode.
I know. So, like, the crazy thing is he has the credit card, but he doesn't have an ID. So how did he pay for anything?
That's what I mean.
Where
like,
what?
You
Like
have
where did
half
he
of
go?
the combined...
He was from Toronto, so he would have had to have like a passport too. He didn't have that
or something. Yeah.
Nothing.
Wild.
Yeah, super crazy. Okay, so now
Did
we are
Canada
going...
let him back in the country?
Yes, he's working again. He's a firefighter. Normal life. That's
Crazy.
just a weird thing that happened that he doesn't talk about anymore.
Wild.
Now we are going to go a little further back in time to my 19th birthday, September 22nd, 2012. A 53-year-old woman named Linda Ortega, and her brother, a 56-year-old man named Eddie Huff, went hiking / camping / adventuring together. It's not exactly sure what they were going to do. There's a lot less information about these two personally, you know, as people, because the other guy, Danny, was a firefighter, and these are just people. Mm-hmm. They don't have cool jobs.
Just to clarify, guys, if you're not a firefighter, you're
not cool. So Eddie was... The plan was that he was going to be teaching his sister some survival skills in the Ozarks of Arkansas. So, again, 56-year-old man, 53-year-old woman, he's going to teach her some survival skills. They're going off into the woods. Maybe they're staying for, like, a night. Maybe they're staying for, like, a couple hours. We don't know. Whatever. It's already a little bit weird to me because... I don't know how great of a survivalist Eddie was, but Linda started this hike with a t-shirt, jeans, and flip-flops on. So, like,
so very
buddy,
prepared.
you should have told your sister to wear something else.
Yeah. Don't freeze.
But, I don't know, maybe she was trying to go on, like, Survivor or something, and he was like, it doesn't matter what you wear, we're gonna do this. It's September, it's in Arkansas. It's probably a little chilly.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what Arkansas weather's like.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Is this as crazy as we are making it out to be?
So, anyway, again, not much info, kind of conflicting stories, but I think the idea was they were supposed to be there for 1 or 2 nights, but, like, with minimal gear, on purpose, because they're gonna, like, survive off of the land. They entered the woods on a Saturday. This day goes well. They sleep in a random area on the ground with just the things that they find and build. No tent, sleeping bag, nothing like that. The next day,
crazy.
Right? The next day starts fine as well. They're adventuring, collecting edible plants. Eddie is explaining the woods to his sister. But at some point, something happens. It's not really clear what happens, but it's something big.
Okay.
On Monday, they went in on Saturday. On Monday, Eddie Huff comes out of the woods without a sister and goes home and continues to live his life for 2 days.
Like nothing happened.
Like nothing happened.
What?
On Wednesday, his friends and family are like, dude, what the fuck happened? We thought you were going to be back earlier. Also, where is your sister Linda?
Yeah, right.
And Eddie's like, we got lost. And they're like, okay, well, do we need to call the police? Like, where the fuck is Linda?
Yeah.
And he's like, I remember seeing her at our relative's house on the porch. She's fine.
Sorry, what?
And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? This makes no sense. Right? And he's like, you're right. It doesn't really make sense in my brain, but this is what I'm remembering.
This is what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, like, we got lost and she's safe with our relative. Like, that's all my brain is saying to me right now.
Ugh.
And no
I
one
hate that.
knows what the fuck is wrong with Eddie and why he's so hazy. But then they call authorities because they're like, all right, we gotta find Linda. She's not at the relative's house.
Our friend is a miss.
Yeah. It is Thursday afternoon. Again, they left on Saturday. It's Thursday afternoon when the police finally go out looking for Linda. She had been in the woods since Saturday, and they've officially declared this a search and recover mission, not a search and rescue.
Oh, I don't like that.
They don't know what may have happened to her out there, but they know she could not have possibly survived this many days with nothing.
Oh my God, are you going to tell me that she survived?
Nearly 100 volunteers went out looking for Linda, and to everyone's surprise, on Friday, Linda was found alive.
She's a bad bitch. She was surviving off the land.
According to sources, she seemed to be doing completely fine. She was just also super confused.
Yeah, no
Her
kidding.
story was just as weird, but much different from her brother's. In her memory, the two got lost, and then Eddie got hurt, and he was suffering from an injury, and she knew she needed to go find help, so she started running in one direction to try to get out of the woods. But then she just got more lost.
What?
At one point, she remembers seeing some hikers, and she's like going up to them, asking them for help, asking them where she is, but it's a super weird experience. She saw them, yelled out to them for help, and they turned toward her, but said nothing.
Ew.
Like they could hear
hate
her,
that.
but didn't see her.
She was on an alternate timeline.
She was,
the only
they
thing
were
that makes
staring in her direction, but they never said a word. Some sources even said that the hikers were hiding behind trees as she got closer. And when she called out, they would all pop their heads out from behind the tree at exactly the same time looking in her direction, but still said nothing.
Stop it.
Yeah, this is something you have nightmares about.
I was going to say, like, it feels like the two of them are on different timelines.
Yes. She continued on her own, surviving on nuts and plants and drinking from the creek. She said on another day, though, she remembered seeing shadowy figures standing in the bushes like they were spying on her. Still, she continued on. She would sleep out in the open just the way her brother had taught her, until eventually she woke up from her sleep to people from the search party yelling her name on Friday. That's when she was rescued.
What? Okay, I'm sorry. Do not sleep in the open if there are shadow people in the woods.
Where do you go?
I don't know.
She had only been 2 miles away from where she entered the woods. So after 5 days of being out there, she was just, I don't know, walking in circles. She was so close to where she had started.
I hate it.
Again, rescue said that she seemed perfectly fine, other than a little confused. But of course, they took her in to be examined. Most people assumed that she and her brother must have eaten some poisonous or hallucinogenic berries, but even after being taken to the hospital and examined, no further information about what may have happened has been released. All of the hallucinogenic berries in the area were quite poisonous, and so something else should have been wrong, if that's what, the deal was.
What's causing it? Yeah.
No one knows why
alternate
this
timeline.
happened.
Alternate timeline.
Third story. This last one takes place in Michigan.
Oh.
Near Lake Michigan.
Oh.
Which we
Aliens
just talked about.
much?
Yes, we just talked about in a recap that we did on the Unsolved Mysteries episode, Something in the Sky.
Yes, go check it out on Patreon. Patreon.com/twisted and uncorked.
So on February 21st, 1978, 2 people on snowmobiles spotted cross-country skis near the edge of the frozen lake, along with the belongings of an unknown person. They immediately reported this sighting to police as they were worried that someone had become victim to the snowy weather. When police arrived, they reported the same sight. Skis placed perfectly side by side near the edge of the lake, along with the ski poles sticking upright in the snow, and a fully packed backpack with the gear used for skiing on top. There were also feet print that went up to the edge of the lake and then just stopped.
Ew.
But again,
Did she
the
get
lake
blooped?
was frozen. So police began to wonder who left these things out there and how long that they had been gone. Did they just walk into the lake and drown before the ice froze over? A search of the area by foot and helicopter was set out immediately after the discovery. In the backpack, police found a dental bill for a Stephen Kubacki. After getting in touch with friends and family, they confirmed that the belongings were his. Stephen Kubacki was a 23-year-old college student from a small Christian university in Michigan. According to his roommate, Stephen had planned to go on a ski trip all by himself just 2 days earlier, so he had only been gone for 2 days.
What?
This was not strange for Stephen. He was very outdoorsy. He had climbed mountains in Germany and gone skiing everywhere. He'd even skied in this exact location before.
Incredible for him to not relate.
He was only meant to be gone for a couple days, but now he was missing. Stephen was described as being brilliant and free-spirited, especially compared to others at the Christian university. He was a German and history major at his school, and he had done a writing piece for the school newspaper recently on how the libraries needed to have electronic security devices on the books and the exits of the building, so people couldn't steal the books anymore. So apparently he was also a money-savvy book lover with big opinions. We have got some things in common.
Okay, yeah. Not so much the hiking mountains, but that part, yes.
And he also enjoyed Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, okay.
A little
Like
nerdy.
it. A little nerdy. We dig it.
The search for Stephen in the area turned up no signs of him and no clues of where he could have gone. It was really as if he had just walked into the frozen lake. And that's the story that started circulating around town and in the newspapers. But no one quite understood that story, because the lake was frozen. He had been seen 2 days prior, and there was no sign of the lake ice having been broken where he could have fallen in.
Yeah. Also,
Police,
like, nightmare fuel.
Right. Police thought maybe he was a victim of John Wayne Gacy. They sent out his teeth for being compared against some of the unidentified victims of John Wayne Gacy, but he didn't match.
Ugh.
His dental
I mean,
records, anyway.
I'm happy, but I'm sad at the same time because I would like those victims to be identified. But
right.
We will cover him at some point, guys.
Stephen Kubacki's family didn't believe that he had drowned either, and they hired a private investigator, but even the private investigator could not find anything. Some students started rumors that Stephen might be the kind of person to just run off, but his roommate told police that he definitely would have known about this if it happened. Also, he was about to graduate college. He only had like 3 classes left. He was about to buy a house. He had a job lined up. He had multiple love interests in different countries.
Humble brag.
Right? But all of which there were no flight records of him flying to those countries, so it's not like he went to be with them either.
He had a lot of unfinished business.
Exactly.
So that doesn't check out.
Strangely, though, there was a reported sighting of someone that fit Stephen's description near the area he was skiing the day before he went missing with another girl. Which was weird to, like, his roommate and stuff because all of his love interests were in other countries. They didn't know anyone who he may have been talking to
He's just adding
Michigan.
another one to the list.
Another strange coincidence, if that was Stephen, we don't know if that was Stephen.
Yeah.
But another strange coincidence is that, according to a blogger, Ellen Killerin, there were reports of another campus student at his college, a female, who was highly distraught over Stephen's disappearance. This student allegedly stopped going to classes, even wrote a suicide note to her roommate because she was so upset. And eventually, this unnamed student dropped out of college and went to live with her aunt in another city. But that's all the information given. Everything else that the blogger Ellen, like, she had asked police for these records. Everything was redacted except for that. That's all we know.
Suspicious. Why?
Yes, why? A month after his disappearance, Stephen's family said they got a phone call from an anonymous person saying if they wanted to talk about Stephen, call this number. When his family called, the number was disconnected.
Ew.
That number, however, seemed familiar to Stephen's mom. She checked her phone records and found that in September of 1977, so this would be 6 months before Stephen disappeared, Stephen had called her from this random number, and they talked about, whatever, random stuff for about 15 minutes. At the time, she didn't think anything of this, and she never asked where he was or why he was calling from this random number. It was just her son calling her. But it turns out that the number that he had called from 6 months ago was disconnected just a few days after she had spoken to him on that day in September.
Ew.
So, someone called from this number,
A disconnected number.
claiming to be her son, and then the number's disconnected. Now her son's missing, and they're like, oh, just call that number back. But she can't call that number.
Suspicious.
Right? For months and months, not a clue came about. Stephen Kubacki was just gone. Until May 5th, 1979, 15 months after he disappeared, Stephen Kubacki woke up in a grassy knoll in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, 700 miles from his skis, which were near Lake Michigan.
Oh, what?
Realizing where he was, he headed towards his aunt's house, who lived just 20 miles from there. On his way to his aunt's house, he grabbed a newspaper, and only then did he realize how much time had gone by. Stephen made it to his aunt's home, who took him back to the rest of his family. Stephen Kubacki was very confused as to what had just happened.
As am I.
The last thing he remembered before being in the field was being cold and scared in the snow. Then he woke up in a field a year later with clothes he had never seen before, some hitchhiking signs that seemed to show he had been hitchhiking in Sacramento, San Francisco, Utah, and Chicago. He also had $40, new glasses, and a t-shirt from a marathon in Wisconsin. And he mentioned that he felt like he had been running for a very long time. A college student from another college called in to police and said that he had picked up a hitchhiker who had a striking resemblance to the missing person, Stephen Kubacki, on the same day that Stephen was found. Allegedly, this hitchhiker told the college student who picked him up that his name was Nathan, and that he had just flown into Boston from San Francisco and was now making his way to the home of a friend to bring them news of a mutual friend who had been missing for quite some time. The college student dropped off the hitchhiker, quote-unquote Nathan, at a house in Great Barrier, which happened to be Stephen's aunt's house.
What?
So, was something else in Stephen's body?
I don't know.
Something named Nathan?
I don't know. Like, maybe, that's a weird one. Because I've heard of cases where people forget periods of their life and they're off doing other things and then they don't remember what happened. But not where they go by, like, a different identity altogether. They just don't remember. Like, it's dissociative, like, amnesia. But this sounds weird, like a host's situation.
Yes.
I hate it. Ugh.
Mm-hmm. Even to this day, no one seems to know what happened to Stephen, and he hasn't talked about it. Right. As far as I know, he hasn't talked to anyone about this. After he was found safe, he went to see a physician.
That's insane.
Who apparently said he was fine, but he refused to see a psychologist. Which, it was 1979, so I'm sure it was a little taboo to see a shrink at the time.
That, and they're judgy and not going to understand the same theories and thoughts that we are now.
Stephen Kubacki received his bachelor's in German studies. He went on to get a master's in linguistics from Ohio University, a doctorate in psychology from the University of Mexico, and a fellowship in the departments of philosophy and psychoanalysis from Frankfurt University in Germany. This is all according to his own website, which says that he currently has a full-time clinical practice. But it's also creepily has a disclaimer at the bottom that says, quote, "Nothing in the opinions or ideas expressed in this blog/website or any blog/website by Stephen Kubacki, PhD, provides or represents any form of counseling, therapy, or advice, regardless of how they may be interpreted or used by others. Stephen Kubacki, PhD, bears no responsibility for the actions or writings of others that chose to read or respond to his written work or comments." End quote. Which is super weird because, like, you have a clinical you have a full-time clinical practice. You have a PhD in psychology. You're a fucking psychologist. That's what you are. However, your disclaimer says you don't provide or represent any form of counseling, therapy, or advice.
Is that just the content
So what
that's
is
on
this
that
then?
site? Or is that just in general?
Maybe. I don't know.
Because
I
I guess,
guess.
like, if you're saying something and somebody takes it out of context because that's what you do for a
Right,
living,
right.
fair enough. But if it's everything that he says and does, like, if it doesn't clarify,
Yeah.
that's weird. I don't like it.
Well, it says nothing in the opinions or ideas expressed in this blog or website or any blog or website written by Stephen.
Is that...
Yeah, so I guess it's his written stuff. Because he also has written a couple books.
Okay. So maybe it's like a way to protect himself.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, is that
Weird
meaning
still.
that what you've said is just, like, total lies and you're... I've just never seen that before.
Yeah. Well, also the first thing that you see when you go to his website, which is stephenkubacki.com, is a huge quote that says, "Rethinking the universe, God, and everything." And apparently he has written a few super sciencey books about interdimensional shit. Like, I can't understand it, so I don't know, but it definitely feels timeliney, interdimensional-ish.
Yeah, like
So,
he-
like, what the fuck happened to him?
Either
And why
some
won't he
sort
tell
of
anybody about it?
amnesia, or he got
I think
hosted,
he
or he
knows.
blooped, or he was abducted.
I think this is my new theory of extraterrestrials and missing 411. I think that aliens / extraterrestrials / cryptids / whatever they are testing humans to see if we can make it in their dimension. And so every now and then they're just like, let's scoot you onto this dimension and see what happens. And in some cases, like this one, it worked out well. They told him, don't fucking talk about it. And he grows up. He's smart as shit now. I mean, he was smart as shit before. Maybe that's why they chose him. But he's so smart that now he has a master's and doctorate and all this stuff. He learned so much from having experienced that. And then in some cases, it doesn't work. Like in Linda Ortega's version of it, she's like, this is fucking terrifying. I don't ever want to do this again. And so hers, it didn't work. Maybe the firefighter, it did, but it happened so recent that he hasn't done anything about it yet because it just happened in 2018.
Fair.
I think they're experiencing other dimensions, like little experiments to the extraterrestrials. It's weird.
My brain
Yeah.
simply cannot handle that. Holy shit. What are your guys'
Not everybody
theories?
survives it.
Write
Some
in,
people
let us
even
know.
die.
Yeah, right. Maybe that's where they just like disappear. We don't know where they went.
Yeah.
They're like, oh shit, we got to get rid of the body. This one didn't work out. Oh god. Ah!
Crazy.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I'm staying the fuck away from Lake Michigan.
But also I kind of
Throwing
really
that
like
out there.
Right? Yes. The Michigan area is definitely
Sorry, guys.
like the West Virginia area.
If we ever do live shows, we will not be coming there.
Right?
Sierra and I will
Or
not be safe.
we'll definitely be coming there.
One of the two, depending on what kind of tour it is. Live show, maybe not. In paranormal investigation, maybe. Great job. Also, thank you for supplying yet more nightmares this year.
Yeah, it's
Mucho
kind of a
appreciated.
creepy one.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, write in twistedanduncorked@gmail.com. Let us know your theories, or you can go to our website and hit that little contact us button. We want to know what you guys think, because that's wild. Maybe we'll share it on a future episode. We'll start at the episode what you guys thought of this, because I'm curious now. I hate it.
I am
Stressed.
too.
If you've had a similar experience, also listener story. Let us know about that. Hopefully you haven't, because it might just be the hot yoga, or I'm just anxious sweating right now. We're not sure. I'm so uncomfortable. You know,
It
when
is
you get
very
like
uncomfortable,
the
but also very
feeling?
interesting.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that
I
you
wonder
do these.
it makes me wonder if sometimes dreams are in different dimensions too.
I don't
because
doubt it.
The
Sometimes I have
interesting-
dreams that feel so real that I question whether or not they were when I
Yeah.
wake up.
Yeah, like because Linda woke up to people yelling her name with the search party, but you know, it was the middle of the day when they found her. Was she just sleeping for a really long time and she was experiencing that stuff in her sleep? But
That's
like
believable.
in another dimension in her sleep.
Lately, I can sleep forever, so I don't doubt it. And she just felt like
Yeah.
she was out for a couple hours, but it was really like days.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If her body was going into survival mode, just sleep it off.
Yeah, right?
Like a fucking bear. Hibernate.
I wish. I kind of wish I was a bear sometimes. Like to
Yeah.
hibernate when it's cold and wintry. And food is scarce. No, food is not scarce. All of our listeners just watched me eat 2 corn dogs and tater tots. But this was a cool episode. Nightmare
died.
fuel. No one died. You technically understood the assignment.
Yeah.
Also, a sad tribute to misunderstanding the assignment. Kirstie Alley died. I know she was
I
problematic in
know.
herself, but she is a part of the Drop Dead Gorgeous crew.
She is.
So that is sad. So R.I.P.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw
It was a
that.
little
We didn't
while
touch
ago
on
now,
it.
but yeah.
we didn't touch
Yeah.
on it, and this seemed like the perfect time because Sierra understood the assignment.
Yes.
And I am the worst at.
My unsolved, disappeared,
Connecting
murderless episode.
She had lots to choose from.
And it worked in all of those.
Yeah.
It is unsolved why they disappeared. They did disappear, though they also reappeared. But
And no one
mostly,
died.
there was no murder.
There you go.
No one
Case
died.
closed.
There you go.
I love it. Well, thank you for an awesome first episode of 2023. Thank you guys for listening. And before we roll on out of here, Sarah, what day is it today?
Today is January 3rd. And on this day in 1959, Alaska became the 49th U.S. state. However, I feel like I've already said that for some reason.
It sounds familiar.
Also, I know.
Because you
Did we
started
look-
talking about how you don't understand how people get to Alaska and why it's not owned by...
Right.
No, you said something about Russia with Alaska.
Oh,
something
okay,
about
because
them
they're so
buying
close.
it. No, they bought it for like super cheap and then sold it to the U.S.
Yes.
So this
yes,
is
I
different.
remember.
Okay, you're good now.
Yeah.
Continue.
It is the 49th state on this day. And also, in 2004, the Mars rover landed on Mars to finally study that
That's
planet's surface. So,
super cool.
yeah.
Where the
Two fun things
extraterrestrials are
Jessie just
coming to
screamed.
experiment on people.
Exactly. That's what happened.
We've come full circle. Well, let us know your guys' theories on this episode. Let us know your goals and aspirations for 2023. And we will see you guys next week for another episode. Maybe with a special guest.
Maybe.
And in the meantime,
keep it twisted.
And see yours in the dark. Thank you for listening to Twisted and Uncorked podcast. Remember to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening now. It really is the best way to spread the word. You can also check out all of our sources and materials, as well as photos for the episode, on our website at twistedanduncorked.com. And you can follow us on social media at Twisted and Uncorked or Twisted_pod on Twitter. Thank you so much for all of your love and support, and we will see you next Tuesday for a brand new episode. Cheers!